Cassie told the jury that the freak-offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated and worthless.
I think we're going to learn a lot about the nature of Cassie's relationship with Diddy.
Cassie Ventura just named Christina Korm as keeping tabs on her for Diddy.
She did say these freak-offs lasted between 1 and 4 days, and it would take her an equal amount of time to get her body recovered, to rehydrate, to rest.
Inside a packed courtroom, Cassie Ventura shocked everyone as she broke down in tears, describing in vivid detail the horrifying abuse she says she endured from music mogul Diddy. Cassie told jurors she was just 22 when Diddy began forcing her into drug-fueled sex sessions known as freak-offs that lasted for days. She said these weren't just private encounters. Diddy would invite male escorts, give her drugs without her knowledge, and then watch from the corner as they performed. She explained how these events left her feeling disgusting, humiliated, and worthless, and that she needed IV fluids to recover from exhaustion.
Cassie in court, reportedly tearing up on the witness stand as she testifies against ex-Diddy in his trafficking trial.
It'll be interesting to see how they react and respond to the alleged victim, Cassie Ventura, because she is expecting her third child and is clearly pregnant. So how jurors will kind of see that or visually how they take that into consideration, we don't know, but really they're supposed to make sure that they stay fair and impartial and pay attention to the facts, which is something even the judge warned them about before they were official jurors.
Diddy maintains his innocence against all charges brought against him. Cassie, the prosecution's key witness in the case against the embattled mogul.
The defense acknowledged that the videos of alleged freak-offs will be shown, but that those videos, they said, didn't come from the government's investigation so much as it came directly from Cassie's phone, but they were essentially trying to raise doubt about why did she hold on to these videos, and again making this argument that this case is about love and infidelity and money. But the prosecution is saying, no, you will hear from witnesses that will tell you that they were abused, they were kicked, they were punched, they were coerced to taking drugs and to performing sex acts. So this is only the beginning.
Cassie testified that she didn't feel like she had a choice, saying Diddy threatened to release videos if she refused. Jurors listened closely, some visibly stunned, as Cassie's emotional testimony painted a chilling picture of control and manipulation. But that wasn't the whole story. What the escort said next left the courtroom speechless. One of the most shocking moments came when a male escort took the stand. He told the jury that Diddy paid him thousands of dollars to have sex with Cassie while Diddy sat in the corner, watching and touching himself. The man described several encounters, saying Cassie often looked drugged and weak. He said things took a dark turn when he witnessed Diddy throw a liquor bottle at Cassie for not obeying fast enough. He then saw Diddy grab her by the hair and drag her into another room, where loud screams and slaps could be heard through the door. The escort admitted he stopped working for Diddy after that incident. He said what he saw was so disturbing, he could no longer continue, even though he was getting paid well. He told the court, "I was scared. I didn't know what Diddy might do to me." This powerful testimony backed up Cassie's claims and shook the courtroom. And what happened next revealed just how deep the cover-up really went. Next, jurors heard from a former hotel security officer who had seen Diddy attack Cassie firsthand. He described the night in 2016 when he responded to a call about a woman in distress. When he arrived, he found broken glass, a smashed vase, and Cassie with a purple eye. He told the jury that as Cassie tried to leave, Diddy blocked the door and offered the officer a wad of cash to forget what he saw. The officer refused the money and later watched security footage showing Diddy kicking, dragging, and yelling at Cassie.
2 witnesses were called today, including a former security officer at the hotel, where Diddy is seen on video attacking Ventura brutally. You remember that video back in 2016. The prosecutors played the video. The witness testified that Diddy tried to pay him off with a giant wad of cash. The day's second witness was a male escort. This is where it really got very juicy, who says that he was paid by Diddy numerous times to have sex with Cassie while Diddy sat there in the corner, masturbating and watched. He says he once saw Diddy throw a liquor bottle at Cassie and heard him beating her in another room.
Another hotel employee confirmed that Diddy often paid staff to stay silent and clear away the mess left after these freak-off sessions, rooms covered in baby oil, blood, and even urine. These testimonies made it clear this wasn't just private abuse. There were people around who knew what was happening. But even more disturbing was how Diddy used his own team to keep Cassie under control. Cassie revealed that Diddy didn't act alone. She said his staff, assistants, security guards, and even his ex-chief of staff helped him track her every move. If she tried to leave or hide, someone from his team would find her and bring her back. One assistant, Christina Core, was named in court as someone who kept tabs on Cassie and ordered supplies for the freak-offs, things like condoms, baby oil, and drugs. Cassie also said a bodyguard named Rock would take away her phone, car, or jewelry whenever Diddy got angry.
Emily Johnson actually said that Cassie did choke on the urine of an escort when Diddy forced this escort to allegedly urinate in her mouth. They did say inner circle numerous times, I believe, really trying to amplify the RICO charges. Diddy couldn't have done all of these crimes without his inner circle, right? Without his bodyguard, without his driver, without his assistant. They talked about alleged kidnappings. That one time he kidnapped his assistant to go and try to find Cassie when he thought Cassie was cheating. I mean, it was wild. I feel like I could go on forever, but I won't. At a certain point, wasn't able to perform for Diddy and Cassie. He got erectile dysfunction because of what he saw. He said he saw Diddy at one point after an encounter drag Cassie by the hair from her computer seat all the way back to her bedroom while she was kicking and screaming and crying. And after she apologized and came out, he said that Diddy said, okay, you guys want to continue? And he couldn't perform. And that was it. From there, he could not perform after that. And he saw Diddy use Cassie 2 or 3 more times after that as well. And this is a muscular guy. He was 41 years old, a bit smaller, but again, he seemed incredibly affected by what he saw.
And was there, just quickly, Lauren, was there a point where he talked about, because I was trying to follow the blogs, again, it's hard, you were in there, it's difficult for us on the outside. Did he talk about Cassie at one point being under the influence of drugs to the point that she was slumped over, and Diddy still wanted him to have sex with her?
At times, she was even kicked out of her apartment as punishment. Diddy controlled not just her body, but every part of her life. Prosecutors told the jury that this pattern shows how a whole network of people helped Diddy maintain power over her. And just when jurors thought it couldn't get worse, Cassie's next confession made the room go completely silent. Cassie's next words left the courtroom in stunned silence. She said the first time Diddy gave her drugs, he spiked her drink without telling her. It wasn't until after the freak-off ended that he admitted slipping her ecstasy. From then on, drugs were a regular part of these encounters, used to keep her awake and numb. Cassie told the jury that she often took cocaine and Molly, all provided by Diddy, just to survive the days-long sex sessions. She said she would slump over from exhaustion, but Diddy didn't care. He would still force her to continue, threatening her with violence or blackmail if she refused.
Cassie told the jury that Diddy forced her into drug-fueled sex acts with male escorts while he watched, sometimes sitting in the corner and masturbating. Through tears, she said she took drugs to numb herself, ecstasy, cocaine, and ketamine, all of it allegedly supplied by Diddy. She said the freak-offs included as many as 4 male escorts at once and typically lasted 36 to 72 hours. The longest, she said, the longest freak-off that she says she was forced to perform in lasted 4 days. She said they took place around the world, from New York to Miami to Spain to even Turks and Caicos. And at every stop, Cassie said the hotel rooms were stocked by Diddy's staff with baby oil, condoms, and drugs. And she says that these hotel rooms, this is disgusting, the hotel rooms were left covered in baby oil and covered in blood and covered in urine. Cassie told the jury that the freak-offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated and worthless. But she said she couldn't say no because she says Diddy threatened to release videos of the freak-offs with her.
At one point during her testimony, Cassie broke down in tears. She said she felt like her body didn't belong to her anymore. Every time she tried to leave, Diddy would find her and bring her back. And then came a moment that even the escort couldn't forget, when fear crossed a line into something much worse. One of the most chilling parts of the testimony came from the male escort, Daniel Phillip. He recalled a moment when Cassie was sitting at her computer, and Diddy called her into the bedroom. When she didn't move fast enough, Diddy lost lost it. According to Philip, Diddy hurled a liquor bottle across the room, nearly hitting her. Then he stormed over, grabbed Cassie by the hair, and dragged her into the bedroom while she kicked and screamed. The escort froze in fear as he listened to Diddy slap and scream at her behind closed doors.
Beat Cassie, he could no longer, perform and be engaged, because before he said even if they hadn't paid him, he was excited to be part of their world. He was enjoying that kind of activity with them. And then things started changing when he saw one time he was on the couch, Cassie was at her computer, and Diddy, he said, was in Cassie's bedroom. Now, Diddy apparently called out to Cassie to come into the bedroom, and she allegedly told him, just hold on a second, my personal information's on the computer. Now, Daniel describes being absolutely shocked when all of a sudden a liquor bottle, Diddy throws it from across the room right toward Cassie, and then he comes running towards her, grabs her by her hair, drags her into her bedroom and tells her, when I tell you to come, you don't wait, you just come when I tell you. And he says he then heard, after the doors closed, Diddy slapping her, beating her, yelling at her, and Cassie screaming out, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And he says he was just kind of frozen in place. He didn't know what to do. And prosecutors asked him, why didn't you intervene? Why didn't you go inside? And he said, look, I know this is somebody with a lot of resources. Quite frankly, I was afraid for my life. Now, that drew a lot of objections from the defense, but the judge allowed that testimony, and he again reiterated that he was scared in that moment for Cassie, feeling like she was in a dangerous situation, but he didn't feel it was safe enough for him to intervene.
He told the court he was terrified, not just for Cassie, but for himself. When asked why he didn't intervene, he said, Diddy has power. I feared for my life. After that night, he said everything changed. What once seemed like an exciting job had become a nightmare.
We thought what we saw in that awful video from the Intercontinental was bad, but to hear the actual graphic details of what Cassie and others endured day after day for years is just completely heartbreaking. And to hear the sex worker actually try to offer her aid when, she was being beaten, and literally she went to him for solace, as opposed to the person who supposedly loves and cares about her. She had to jump into the arms of a sex worker, and he was literally like, this is not okay. You need to leave this relationship. And she did, unfortunately, what so many survivors do, which is, I'm okay, it's gonna be okay, basically, I can handle this. And the reality is, she really needed to get out because she was being violated and degraded in so many different ways. And my heart just breaks for her so much.
Melba, you're so right. Ours do as well. What's it going to be like today when she is perhaps called? We think that she's going to be witness number 3. We have a clip where we caught up with her lawyer outside of the courthouse on Monday. Let's take a quick look.
How is Cassie? Is she emotional? Is she feeling okay with this? Is she nervous?
She's ready.
She is ready. She's also pregnant, God bless her, and visibly pregnant too, so in the later stages of her pregnancy.
And what came next revealed just how far Diddy would go to keep Cassie under control, even across state lines. Cassie told the court that these freak-offs didn't just happen in one city. Diddy would fly her around the world, from New York to Miami, Spain, and even Turks and Caicos. At each stop, hotel rooms were prepared with drugs, condoms, baby oil, and anything else Diddy requested. She said she felt like a prisoner, constantly being moved and controlled. The prosecution revealed that Diddy's actions may fall under federal trafficking laws because he allegedly transported her across state and international lines for sex acts. Cassie explained that she had no say in where she went or what she did. If she refused, Diddy would get violent or threaten to release recordings. She said even the hotels were in on it, some staff being paid to stay quiet and clean up after the abuse. But as Cassie fought to survive, prosecutors said another woman was about to step forward with a secret that could change everything. As the trial continued, prosecutors introduced a surprise. Another woman known as Jane, who had also been involved in Diddy's so-called freak-offs. Jane had told Diddy in text messages that she didn't want to take part, but instead of respecting that, he offered her money and pressured her to go along with it anyway. What stunned the courtroom even more was that Jane had secretly recorded a phone call with Diddy. In the recording, Diddy can allegedly be heard trying to convince her to lie, asking her to say she agreed to everything and wasn't forced.
I think that will ultimately be a difficult thing for the defense to show because of all the evidence the prosecutors in the opening statement said that they had showing that actually
actually these women really weren't making a choice. You have the video of Cassie where, Sean Combs is beating her, striking her, dragging her out of that hallway video when she was trying to leave one of these freak-off sessions. That doesn't exactly look like a choice. We also heard from the prosecutors that there are text messages where one of the victims, known as Jane, is saying, I don't want to engage in these freak-offs. I don't want to do this. And then there are apparently also recorded calls that we are going to hear between Sean Combs and Jane, in which Sean Combs is offering her money and telling her to say that she wanted to engage in these freak-offs. None of those pieces of corroborating evidence sounds like these women had a choice. So I think that is going to be really critical evidence for the prosecution. And just one last point, even if there is the charges, but there are 2 charges, one for each victim, of transporting these women across state lines for the purposes of prostitution. Those charges do not require force, fraud, or coercion. So consenting adults traveling across state lines for the purpose of prostitution, if he did that, he is guilty. So these arguments about the women had a choice, they're not really a defense to these transportation for prostitution charges. I think those charges in particular will be very difficult for the defense to overcome.
This audio, along with the texts, gave the jury more proof that Diddy used manipulation and money to control women and cover his tracks. It also showed that Cassie wasn't alone, and this pattern had happened more than once. But as more victims prepared to testify, someone suddenly vanished, and the courtroom was left asking why. Just as the case was gaining momentum, things took a strange turn. One of the women set to testify, known as victim number 3, suddenly went missing. Prosecutors told the court they could no longer reach her. She was supposed to reveal more disturbing details about Diddy's behavior, but now she had disappeared without a trace. At the same time, a juror sent an urgent message to the judge, asking to be removed from the trial for personal safety. These back-to-back events raised serious questions about fear and intimidation behind the scenes. Commentators began to wonder, was someone trying to silence witnesses, or were the women simply too scared to relive the trauma in front of a courtroom? Still, prosecutors say they have more victims ready to speak and evidence that keeps building by the day. But it was Cassie's final words on the stand, delivered while pregnant, that truly showed her strength and left the room speechless. In the final moments of her emotional testimony, Cassie stood strong, despite being visibly pregnant and just days away from giving birth. She told the jury she was tired of living in fear and finally ready to speak her truth, no matter the cost. She recounted how the abuse didn't end when the freak-offs stopped. She said Diddy would continue to control her, taking away her phone, car, and even kicking her out of apartments if she didn't obey. His employees, including bodyguards and assistants, helped keep her trapped. One even took her jewelry as punishment. Cassie said these freak-offs became a job she never signed up for. They weren't about love. They were about power, control, and humiliation. Through tears, she said, I didn't feel like a person anymore. I felt like a thing he owned. When asked why she stayed so long, Cassie explained that she was scared of what Diddy might do if she left. She feared the videos being leaked. She feared the violence. But now, standing in front of the jury, she said she wasn't afraid anymore. Her final words echoed through the courtroom. I just want to be free. As court adjourned, some jurors appeared visibly moved. Reporters noted how Diddy sat silently, listening, showing little emotion. This trial is far from over, and more witnesses are expected to come forward. But Cassie's voice has already made an impact, and it might be the one that finally holds Diddy accountable. If you want to stay updated as this story unfolds, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. There's more to come.